Welcome to the Indie Horror Junkie podcast. Tonight, you will be joining Rotting Ricky and Asylum Amy as they play host to some of the true movers and shakers in the indie horror scene. So lock your doors, check under the bed, and get comfortable, because here we go.
And I'm Sylvia Saska, and we're the Saska Sisters, and this is Indie Horror Junkie! Indie Horror Junkie! Indie Horror Junkie!
Hello, junkies. Yep. Asylum Amy has been locked away tonight, so I'm not going to let her out till after the show, but, she'll be back probably next week or something like that. But either way, I'm here. I got you covered. Got a great show lined up for you tonight. But before we bring on our guest, let me go ahead and do a little bit of housekeeping as we normally do. All right. First off, what are we going to talk about here? Oh, yeah. Amy, this past weekend, was at, New Jersey HorrorCon. From what she said, she had some great experience. She's made a lot of great contacts. She's got some pictures, videos, all that good stuff that hopefully we'll be putting up here shortly so you can get to see what she had going on. Then we also have the Scaricon Film Festival, as we've been pimping every single week. It is open. Submissions are open. If you've got a short horror film or a feature film you want to get it shown at this incredible event, make sure you submit it. It's through Film Freeway. We're going to be hosting the film festival there. It's September 5th through 7th in Syracuse, New York. So make sure you put your submission in there as quickly as you can to take advantage of the cheaper pricing, and we look forward to screening them for you. Let me go ahead and go over our list of guests that have been announced, and there are more coming. But for right now, we've got Felissa Rose. Everybody loves Felissa. We've got Dave Sheridan. We've got the unbelievable Daniel Roebuck. I know personally. Very good guy. Great actor. We've got Kane Hodder. Who doesn't love Kane Hodder? Come on now. Then we've got Phil Falcone, special effects wizard. Then we've just recently added Jesse Posey and Tyler Posey. They will all be special guests there. I have been told that there are going to be more guest announcements coming up very, very soon. So as they release them through Scaricon, we'll have them here. We'll have them on the Indie Horror Junkie webpage and all that good stuff. But we have some other stuff too. We also have another film festival that you may have heard of, which is the Indie Horror Junkie Film Fest. That takes place in March at MegaCon Orlando. The submission process is already open. You can take advantage of the very, very cheap early bird submission. So if you've got a shorter feature, make sure you once again head over to Film Freeway, plug it into us so we can get it lined up. And then you can come out, if you're accepted, to come out to MegaCon Orlando and join Amy, myself, and 250,000 of our closest friends. So it's an incredible event, and we highly recommend it. And if you're going to come out anyway, come see us, catch a few films. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Oh, the latest issue, which is currently out. We sold out of the first run. Here it is right here. 259's on the cover. And that shows you a couple of the other articles that are in there. It came out on the 13th. And we sold out of the first run. The second run is currently in the mail. And we will get those out to the people who've ordered those. So if you want a copy, make sure you head over to IndieHorrorJunkie.com. You can order either a digital copy for $5, which we'll send out all over the world. Or you can order the big, beautiful, glorious color copy, printed copy, that for $15, which includes free shipping, that we can mail out to anywhere in the continental United States. So you can get both of them or just one of them at IndieHorrorJunkie.com. Make sure you check it out. And just in case you didn't know how we run things here, basically we put out a magazine every 2 months. So it's a bi-monthly magazine. But if there's a month in the middle that has our favorite day of the week, which is Friday the 13th, we put out a special Friday the 13th issue. So if you were unaware, June next month has Friday the 13th. So we're putting out a very special Friday the 13th issue. That cover will be revealed on June 1st, and then the magazine will ship on June 13th. Then the next regular issue will be in July, and then we'll be back to the standard every other month until, of course, the next Friday the 13th. So just to let you know, we'll have some big announcements here with regards to that here coming very, very soon. Also, tarot cards we've been talking about. You can go to tarotcards.com. You get a free trading card game. You can collect trading cards for The Clock and many other Bayview movies and other movies as well. So definitely check that out. It's a really cool little fun game. And make sure you get those cards because I hear that they even have signature cards out now. And you may even get a wonderful Rotting Ricky card that's out there because, of course, everybody has to have one of those in their collection. And then one last thing here. Yes, sirree. Look at that. The Clock. The first ever indie horror junkie feature film that has been released. You can get it on streaming services from Tubi, Amazon, Vudu, Plex, Chilling, FlixFling, and others. You can also get it on Blu-ray. Then you can order it through IndieHorrorJunkie.com or Bayview Entertainment. And by getting it on Blu-ray, you also get a couple of special features, which is audio commentary from myself and our wacky cinematographer, Salo Zayas. We had a lot of fun doing that, giving you some insight on the movie. And on top of that, there was a 45-minute little, I don't know what you call it, little extra that I put together on a radio show, an old-time radio drama called Hickory Dickory Doom that The Clock is actually based on. A little movie there, or excuse me, radio drama that I listened to back when I was a kid that inspired me to write this. So we'll give you a little insight there on where the thing all came to be. Okay, now I've wasted enough time, so let's go ahead and get ready to get on with our special guest. Let me introduce him here. I do not have a trailer for him yet because he's right now in the middle of post. But what I do have, there you go. That's his movie poster. His name is Doug Hawley. He's here with me. That's him, the studly-looking gentleman you see there with the nice blazer. So that's him, and let's go ahead and bring him on. Hey, Doug, look how you magically appeared like that. Isn't that amazing?
Amazing. Thank you, Ricky. How are you?
I'm doing very well, sir. And yourself?
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, we're going to get right into it. I've got some people already chiming in. So like I was telling you before, we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of filmmaking, how you got where you are, what's going on with you now, and of course, what you have coming up. But first off, while I'm looking through some of these chats that I'll be bringing on here real quick, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started in the whole business?
Started in the business. Wow. So, I mean, you want like the beginning, like making movies as a kid and all that, and then
yeah, sometimes because some people just like, hey, I was there, I did this, and now I was like, I didn't want to do that anymore. Somebody was making a movie, I went on set, and boom, there it is. Other ones were like the moment I was born on a film set, and it's been in my DNA. So, I mean, how did the filmmaking bug bite you?
Wow. As a kid, I obsessed with movies for as long as I can remember. Not just I loved watching them, but how they're made and all that. And did like a lot of people, started making movies with video cameras as a kid, with with your buddies running around with plastic toy guns and all that goofy nonsense. Eventually, I went off to college and earned a degree from the University of Toledo in film and video studies. And after that, I moved to California and pretty quickly ended up working in the industry. So my goal was always to write and direct. Unfortunately, those jobs usually aren't just readily available. So you got to kind of make your own opportunities. In the meantime, I worked post-production. I worked at a camera rental house, volunteered on as many sets as I could get on, and eventually just kept working, making my own work. And that kind of brings us to now. So finally wrote and directed my own feature.
Oh, outstanding. Now we have somebody here, Howard Hawkins, that chimed in and said, I love this movie. So I wonder if he's thinking about the proof of concept. Did you say that you sent those to different film festivals for The Sweetest Day?
Yeah, so Sweetest Day, I wrote the screenplay, I think in about late 2018, early 2019. And we realized pretty quick that it would take a lot of weekends and we'd bankrupt ourselves if we tried making it just kind of on our own with the resources that we had. So what we did was we made a proof of concept short film, for the purpose of solidifying myself as the director and our lead Doree C as the star. I wrote it specifically for her. So it was kind of a good area to, get up to speed. Like Doree had to learn martial arts, or at least good enough for camera and safety. And we were able to experiment a bit with tone and what we wanted the movie to look like. We were also able to get some footage shot knowing that it would eventually wind up in the feature version. So we kind of had the approach, well, let's pick the low-hanging fruit first. So we got basically a couple days or a day or two worth of filming out of the way for footage that would wind up later in the feature. So once we had made the short film, had that all together, the pandemic happened. We waited for film festivals to become in person again, and then we started getting the short film out there. So it kind of played all over the country, did pretty well. We were able to win some awards for our lead Doree, as well as some technical awards and some awards for my writing and direction. And that was kind of what helped propel the movie along and get us able to shop it around and get it funded.
Oh, very cool. Looks like we're being joined by somebody you may know.
Chris Jarowski.
That's my director. Yes, sir, he is. All right.
Yeah, Chris Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Chris was?
I was going to say Chris was one of the producers on the film. He was there since the inception as a short.
Oh, very cool. And since you did explain that whole thing about the short and stuff, that's one of the things we were talking about off screen before we started the show. But I do want to get into that because one of the big things that everybody seems to want to know about here is how did you get the funding? How did that process work? And you did it a little bit differently. You didn't do the crowdfunding thing. Explain to everybody exactly, kind of touch on what you just explained about how you got the funding for this.
By getting the short film out there, and getting it into festivals. That was key. We were also ready to go in the planning stages. So we had budget breakdowns. This is what it would cost if we filmed it in Los Angeles. We had another breakdown. This is what it would cost if we filmed it in Ohio, which is where I'm from originally and where the movie takes place. So just have. Sorry, can we swear on here?
Yeah, of course.
As having our shit together,
right.
Was kind of made it easier for people to hand us money. But we had it together. We had a plan. We had storyboards in addition to the proof of concept work to show competency, and from there we were able to piecemeal the budget together. So we had one major investor who took care of the bulk, and then there were a number of other people that came along later. Like our philosophy was the train is moving. Hop on if you wish.
I like that.
And that's what worked. That ended up working out for us. So we had other people kind of come in during production or later on. One person gave us their Vegas money for the year. Instead of going to Las Vegas, they said, instead of gambling in Vegas, I'll gamble on you jackasses. So just being prepared, having a clear idea of what you're going to set out to do, having a great pitch deck and your budget breakdowns, and just being ready to go. We also had a number of good people attached. Our director of photography, Logan Fulton, had won an Emmy the year before. Super talented guy.
Wow.
So just having the people in place and your paperwork in order, that really got us going.
Oh, great. Now you did mention that you had a budget for California and a budget for Ohio. Where did you end up shooting?
We shot 97% of the movie in Ohio and the rest in Los Angeles. So that footage I explained that we shot during the proof of concept phase. And then we did an additional 3 days of shooting in Los Angeles, mostly on sound stages and on a backlot.
Very cool. Very cool. I've talked to so many people, and that's always been one of the I guess, bones of contention, whatever you want to say, is that do you have to move to California to make films? And a lot of people are saying, no, you can do it pretty much anywhere you want. And as a matter of fact, it's probably going to be more expensive in California because at the end of the day, they're not just happy to see somebody making a movie. They're going to charge you for everything you do because everybody's doing it there. Whereas if you do it in your hometown, you can get a lot of locations and stuff usually for free because they're all excited about the whole movie game. So yeah, it's kind of a give and take. But you did mention to me off screen that this was a SAG project?
Absolutely. So just about all our cast, top to bottom, sans a few smaller roles and things like that, we're all SAG talent. We had to get a SAG interim agreement because we filmed during the strike. So going back and forth with the Screen Actors Guild and our representative, we were able to get the production going at a time when not many other people were working. So it was a process, but I'm glad we did it, and I'm very thankful to the Guild for helping us through.
So how difficult was it working with SAG? Because I've heard so many different nightmare stories about all the paperwork that you have to do, and it has to be done at certain times and the hours and so many different little loopholes and stuff like that. Was that something that you've been used to working with SAG, or was this a first time event? And if so, how was that process?
It wasn't my first time working with SAG. I think that this was difficult just because the interim agreement seemed to be a whole nother stack of paperwork we had to get through on top of the usual business. What also made it difficult was, the actor strike's going on, but every other production is trying to get their project through and get approved. And there's only so much representation available at the these poor people can only answer so many calls and emails a day. So I understand. I know it's difficult, and but I can't really point a finger. I understand the circumstances. And I mean, it's difficult, but we got help when we needed it, and it wasn't the worst thing in the world. It's just it took a lot of back and forth, but worth it, and I'm very grateful.
Okay, Chris is chiming in here too, saying permits would be half the budget in LA.
This is true.
Yep. I've heard those stories before as well. All right. So where did the inspiration for this film come from? I mean, was this something like you had like a fever dream and just decided like, this is it, I want to see this on film? Or was this something that you maybe read a story when you were a kid and always developed it? Because that's the reason I asked that, is because like The Clock was based on a radio show that I remember listening to when I was like 12 or 13, and it always stuck with me. And I always thought like, man, that would make such a cool movie. And when it finally came an opportunity where we had the budget, that's the movie I wanted to make. So how did this come about?
Well, not quite a fever dream, but let's say I was high on a little more than life one afternoon, killing the day with my better half and some friends, and just kind of waltzed into a thrift store. And I'm looking at the old VHS tapes, and there's a Bruce Lee movie next to a Friday the 13th movie next to a Rocky movie. Wow. And something clicked in my head, and I said, that is like a tasty cinematic s'more right there. Maybe because I had the munchies, and that's where my mind went. But that was kind of the I had a click moment. I had been toying around with making another horror movie. I like slasher movies. I wasn't quite sure what I could do that was different, that hadn't been done as of late. So once that idea clicked, the other idea was when I was in third grade. Our teacher, it was around Halloween time, and she was explaining. She took her and her husband took her child on like a haunted hayride or something like that, and he was scared to go. He was maybe like 5 or 6 years old. He was scared to go, but this is like the era when kids were obsessed with ninjas and Ninja Turtles and everything. And he said, I'll go if I can take my ninja sword.
Look at that.
And that always stuck in my head because I thought, what's Jason Voorhees going to do if you chop his arms and legs off, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of fighting, unstoppable slasher killer with a samurai sword always stuck with me. So finally, after all these years, I had a place for that to go.
Nice. Jared Tipton was he won our best short film in our last film festival. So it's a good conversation. I definitely could have shot my short film cheaper outside of California. No savings in LA. Yeah, trust me, brother. I hear that every day, and that's a shame.
exactly to the point you said about shooting locally, a lot of people are just happy to have you.
Yeah.
The amount of access we got on the feature version of Sweetest Day is still kind of jaw dropping to me. We shot, inside the sheriff's department. We basically turned kind of the town square into our back lot. We had just such amazing cooperation from the city. People were just happy to help, and I would recommend that if you have the opportunity to shoot in a place like that, do it, because it'll add so much production value to your film, and you'll get to shoot in a place that's probably unique and cameras aren't on all the time.
All right. Okay, well, I was going to wait a little bit later to do this, but I have some other questions that I think are going to tie into these pictures that I have for you. So why don't we go ahead and jump into these pictures? I'll bring each one up. You kind of let us know who's in it, what's going on a little bit, without, of course, giving too much away of the film. And then when we come back, I'll ask you those questions. Here's the first one.
Okay. That is our leading lady, Doree C. And she is forcing a smile for me because she's cool like that. No, I'm kidding. We actually, behind her, it's kind of hard to see, there's a camera mount on this vintage Pontiac we had access to. So we were doing a driving sequence that day.
Oh, very cool.
Okay, this is actually during the additional shooting in California. Her character was a tennis player in high school, and that ties into her sword training later on in the movie. I guess we maybe should explain the plot at some point, because I know I'm throwing out random bits and people are like, what in the hell is he talking about? But anyway, this was in California on this tennis court. We actually came full circle. This tennis court we shot at or filmed at during the proof of concept phase. So, and that was actually our last day of filming, I think, was on that tennis court. One of our last days. So we shot some things for like her training. There's this, training montage sequence where her character's got to get ready. So we went and shot on this tennis court.
Very cool.
This is also California. This is at Silver Dream Studios in Anaheim. So we needed to get a little bit of shooting, pickup shots done, and they happen to have this back lot that looks an awful lot like my hometown of Warren, Ohio. So it kind of blended seamlessly with what we shot in Ohio.
Now, is this a still or is this just like a behind the scenes picture?
Well,
because it looks so well lit and everything.
Yeah, no, that's from the movie.
Oh, that's from the movie. Okay, yeah, because that does look like a still. That's very cool. I love lighting.
That is Logan Fulton, our DP, operating there. I'm the doofus with the baseball cap looking at the director's monitor in the background. Yes, we were making our lead actress run around quite a bit while we tracked her with that rig.
What kind of camera is that?
That is an Alexa Mini LF.
Never heard of that one. I so much hear about the Black Magics and the Reds and stuff like that. That's pretty much the bulk of what everybody uses that I know of. That or the what is the Panasonic? I think it is.
Oh yeah. The Arri Alexa we use for the bulk of the film, and then there's a movie within the movie, something you see the main character watches on television, that was shot with a Red Dragon, I believe.
Gotcha.
But no, I think the Alexa is a great camera, and it really pairs well with vintage lenses. So that was why we sort of leaned that way.
Mm-hmm. Who do we got here? I see you.
That is me. Our production designer, Shane, over my left shoulder. The gentleman to my right is Chris Labadie, who also stars in the movie and is one of our producers. Chris, again, started out in the feature or the short film version, and his role carried over here. This gentleman he has his arm around, his name is Yusei. He came and did some behind the scenes coordinating for us on the Los Angeles production. And the gentleman behind him is our sound operator, Christian.
Yeah, the photo bomber there. Yep, gotcha. And then we got a little out of focus, but it looks like a nice little night shot on that same tennis court, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Forgive me for including that one. I didn't realize
That's
how blurry
okay.
it was.
It's all good. It's behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we've got right here.
So this is on a green screen stage. That is Kelly Maroney of Chopping Mall and Fast Times at Ridgemont High and
Yeah.
Night of the Comet fame. So yeah, she is great. She has a small but vital role in the movie. She is a presidential candidate. So you see her debating Russell Todd playing the president. Russell Todd was in Chopping Mall as well. So we have a Chopping Mall reunion. Russell is also in Friday the 13th Part 2. So we have horror legends in our cast.
Nice. Love it.
That's DeRay laughing maniacally at something, probably at my expense.
And it's forever on film. There you go. And there she is again laughing at you.
Probably, yeah. We had a good time. So this is out on Lake Erie. That's Logan Fulton, our director of photography, operating. That's Nate Boyer. He plays the sheriff in this film. The sheriff is on a boat ride here to a spooky cemetery on Lake Erie.
Now, is this just after dawn or is this golden hour just before sunset?
Just before sunset.
There we go. Okay, sounds good. And then we have the last one which I showed there. That's the poster. Is that the official poster?
That is the official poster, my man.
All right. Now, since we've showed all these pictures and introduced all these people, why don't you give the audience a little idea of what this movie's about?
It's about 90 minutes. Well, no. The elevator pitch, which also helped get the movie made, was it's about a black woman who learns how to use a samurai sword at the local fitness center so she can stop an undead Confederate soldier.
Okay, very cool. Now, the question that I had that I wanted to show the pictures first is because we talked about the whole samurai sword situation. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about how that went. Obviously, you didn't use real samurai swords. Were they like just dulled down samurai swords? Were they dummy swords? Were they made from a 3D printer? Tell me how that worked out.
The stunt swords or the fighting swords were made out of aluminum. So we had the main character's name is Mindy. So we had Mindy's sword, as well as the Confederate soldier uses a long saber. He's like a cavalryman. So those were all made out of dulled aluminum. And then we also, for close-ups and things, we had a hero sword, again dulled and safe, but still it's a heavy piece of aluminum, so you can't kill each other with these things still.
You can't kill each other, you can smash your finger, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, any of the fighting sequences, even though DeRay and our stunt coordinator and actor Clive Hawkins trained for months and months, you're still nervous as hell, but nobody got hurt except one mat box.
One mat box
that we could live with.
Terra Cards here says Anaheim represents, lived there for 5 years.
Fantastic.
And they also said Kelly.
Yes.
Was that one of the people in the picture? Okay, I guess they know. And then here, Chopping Mall. Believe it or not, I am an 80s fanatic. I have a whole 80s section of DVDs back there, and I love 80s movies and everything else, but Chopping Mall is one that I have not seen. And I know that I'm probably going to get ripped apart for it because it seems to be a cult favorite, but I have not seen that one yet.
You know what? I'm not going to rip you apart. I'm envious because you get to watch Chopping Mall for the first time. Ooh. That is a birthday gift waiting for you to open whenever you need it,
I will have to watch it probably by this weekend for sure.
It's wonderful, it's super fun, and it's 87 minutes.
87 minutes. So you're quite familiar with it, I take it.
Yeah.
Now going back to what you talked about with the thrift store when you mentioned the VHSs and Bruce Lee and stuff like that, are you another 80s baby like I am that are big into the 80s and stuff? And
yes, indeed.
Love it.
I not to toot my own horn, but I guess I got to be a salesman and say, I think you'll like Sweetest Day. Although it's not a period piece, it is very much inspired by 80s films.
Very cool. Very cool.
We even our director of photography and I had discussions back and forth, and we even shot in an aspect ratio that's not quite VHS, but we wanted to evoke those vibes. So we shot like in this 3:2 aspect ratio. So it's not quite VHS, but it also sort of feels like an old 35 millimeter photograph. And that was what led us to that creative decision. But so we wanted to evoke the vibes of the 80s without necessarily directly harping on references and direct things like that.
Then you have a tremendous fan in me. I will definitely. And I don't feel quite as bad now because Chris just says I just watched it for the first time last year myself. So good. I will catch up.
I have to say this. I got hip to Chopping Mall when I was, I don't know, maybe 10 years old, because my older sister came back from a sleepover party and said, "Oh, we rented movies." I said, "Well, what'd you rent?" She said, "Chopping Mall." I had never heard of it. And I said, "Why'd you rent Chopping Mall?" And she looked at me like I just asked the dumbest question she ever heard. And she said, "Because it's called Chopping Mall."
That's true. I always heard about that the title was one of the biggest things, but it has become a cult classic. Tara Card says, "I love those ninja films of the 80s. Any inspiration from those?"
Absolutely. I guess you're talking specifically like Canon Films output, like Ninja 3, The Domination, all that. Absolutely. Our main character in the movie actually has a small obsession with a film called Miss Ninja. That's the film within the film I was mentioning. We shot the footage from early on in the process. So there is a very much Canon Films throwback ninja movie within Sweet Estate.
Terry Cars caught me. Sho Kazuki. Yep, that was my friend's favorite back in the day.
Fantastic.
Now, when I first saw the poster and stuff, and I first heard about this and her as the samurai and everything else, I couldn't help but think of Blade. Was there any Blade inspiration in there, or was this pretty much all pre-Blade?
I mean, I definitely saw the Blade movies when they came out and liked them immensely, but I don't think I didn't necessarily think of Blade directly when I came to writing this. If anything, I thought of this as the opposite. I mean, I guess because Blade's based on a Marvel property, you could consider him a superhero of sorts. I thought of this as the anti-superhero movie. Our character is not special, doesn't have any special abilities, very much a regular person.
Gotcha. All right. So did your actress, did she have any training prior to, or is pretty much she learned on the spot?
She had no martial arts training whatsoever. Although I think I take that back. She studied capoeira in college, or I think it took it as an elective. I don't know, but she looks cool. I can't explain much about it, but she looks cool when she does it.
So she does martial arts and on top of also with the
no,
in the movie I'm talking about.
She does martial arts on top of playing tennis.
On top of her sword play.
I mean the basics, doing badass kicks and punches. I guess the form she learns in the movie is like a little bit Muay Thai, a little bit Kendo. It's very much an amalgamation of things. So we wanted to get her to a point where she looked proficient, but we didn't want her to be like, I didn't want her to be like Toshiro Mifune at the end,
Gotcha.
It's very, very, I wanted to keep it grounded.
Okay. All right. So as an 80s fan, you didn't just give her a VHS copy of The Last Dragon and send her home?
No, but you know what? The Last Dragon very much was an influence on this.
There you go. The Last Dragon. I keep hearing that a lot. People talk about that movie, and it's like, even though to me it's one of those little, like, what do they call those little sweet treasures or something like that, where that you don't want to really admit that you loved, but you did. Again, I got to meet the guy who played Bruce Leroy as well at another convention. So it was such a cool. That's one of those little movies that always gets me. I'm sure we'll get a movie. Okay. What were your inspirations getting? Well, first off, the reason I asked you about how you got into film is because, like with me, I got into film wanting to be a writer, had no idea I wanted to direct or do anything else. And the first movie that we did where I was hired another company to do the filming for me ended up falling apart, and I ended up doing most all of it on set. So the movie turned out like shit, but I learned so much from
Right.
that. And that's where I got bit, knew that, hey, this is what I want to do. So in other words, it ended up helping me. You said you wanted to write and direct and produce right from the get-go. What?
Mhm.
Who were some of the inspirations that you've had growing up as you were getting into this? Whatever it is, what directors like me? One of my biggest is Quentin Tarantino, Spielberg. The John Carpenter. Were there any that really stuck out to you that are your biggest inspirations?
Absolutely, those three that you named. It's funny, not even necessarily horror directors, but like I've been a big Paul Thomas Anderson fan since I was a teenager. So he was another one. Gosh, there's so many. I'm blanking right now. You got me on the spot. But yeah, Carpenter, again, George Romero. I think also growing up in Northeast Ohio, George Romero made his movies not far at all from where I'm from. Night of the Living Dead always felt like it happened not far out my back window.
Mm-hmm.
So just seeing someone from the region or that area able to do it, that was a big inspiration. But man, another filmmaker I got really into when I was in my late teens was Wong Kar-wai. He's a Mandarin Chinese filmmaker. He made In the Mood for Love. I saw in an art gallery in Youngstown when I was 17. That really, I don't know, had an effect on me, I guess. That sounds corny to say, but and then
No.
in film school we studied his work like Fallen Angels and Chungking Express. Chungking Express got a US release because of Quentin Tarantino.
I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, they had connected when he was. I think they were both. I think when Pulp Fiction was on the festival circuit, so was Chungking Express. But yeah, writer directors. I don't know. I will. As soon as this call's over, I will think of 20 more and like, why the hell didn't I say so and so? But there you have it.
That's what it always happens. But you mentioned a few interesting ones right there. I got to know a filmmaker that basically lives and breathes down here. His name is Bill Griffey. I got to meet him in old school 70s. He made a movie that was just recently, as a matter of fact. I don't know if it was just recently, but Quentin Tarantino talked about it, called Whiskey Mountain. That was a big inspiration for Tarantino, and he even sent Bill a big picture signed by him and everything for that. But and I got to work with Bill. Bill was he made Jaws, Mako, Jaws of Death, and his Sis, I think it was called, and several other different movies. But he's got a documentary called He Came from the Swamp. Down here, he lived here. And when you mentioned also George Romero, my very first movie I ever made, The Web of Darkness, we got Tom Savini to come down and star in it. And so that was a huge thing for me because he was, my God, you know what I'm saying? So to work with him and to have him on set was unbelievable. And I've known him and chatted with him for over 20 plus years now. But yeah, and he talked a lot about George, living right down the street from George and going to have dinner and stuff like that. So how cool that must that have been. I think Tom's still living in Pittsburgh, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, because I know he's involved with his makeup school. So
His makeup's really taken off, yeah.
Right, yeah. So I've known a few people to go through that program.
Okay.
Very cool.
What do you think about the festival circuits, the conventions? Have you done many of those, whether you go as a spectator or you've gone and had tables or screened anything? Have you gotten involved in that aspect? Because the networking alone is really worth it.
Yeah, I do go to a lot of those events. Even if I'm not like working or plugging, just as a fan, I go.
Mm-hmm.
So like out here in Los Angeles, we have Monster Palooza coming up,
Yes.
Son of Monster Palooza, all those,
Son of Monster Palooza.
I absolutely, I love going to those. And yeah, they're great networking events. They're also just, super fun.
Did you ever meet any of your heroes there? Anybody you can mention that I can't believe I shook this guy's hand or
wow.
Anything like that? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but you got my gears going. So.
Oh man. Everybody loves. Oh gosh. I'm blanking now. Oh, from Night of the Creeps and Halloween 3, Tom Atkins.
Oh, Tom Atkins. Yes.
Yeah, everyone loves meeting Tom Atkins. That guy's cooler than the other side of the pillow.
I've heard that. I haven't met him personally, but I've heard that he's really cool and down to earth.
Yeah, he is just a super cool, super fun guy. So yeah, if you can bump into him at the bar and have a beer, I highly recommend doing so.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons one of the many reasons that I love running a festival and a film festival and a convention and stuff like that, because you get to meet so many people, not just the fans. It's great meeting the fans because having them come and tell you some of the stories and how they know you from, but also meeting some of these people, I remember sitting on the couch and eating popcorn, watching their movies and loving it, and actually getting to meet them and chatting with them and talking to them. Like I got to meet Marilyn Eastman from the Night of the Living Dead before she passed. We did a convention, and her table was right across the table from her. And I remember going over and sitting there talking with her, and she was just like a regular person. She didn't understand the whole fame thing. She was just delighted just to chat with you. And we could have chatted all day long. So it's when you meet people like that to me really sticks with me, that, they haven't gotten too big for the industry and this and that. They just love the camaraderie and stuff. And that was a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we have a question here for you. How did you meet Kelly and Russell to get them in the film?
Kelly, we had reached out to in the casting process for Sweetest Day early on. And unfortunately, we ended up casting this role with someone else, but Kelly was cool enough to come and do this other part for us. I know her and Russell. Sorry, I'm blabbing. I know her and Russell through another filmmaker named Matthew Hirsch, whose film If It Bleeds, which is also in post-production as we speak, I produced on. So through Matt, we were able to reach out, and Russell was very receptive. He told me he always wanted to play the president. He was very excited. Kelly was game. She thought it was super fun, and she got to work with Russell again. I mean, they've known each other for 30 some odd years, so they had this great history and a great chemistry. So it seemed like it would be stupid not to set that up. So that's what we did.
Chris backed up your praise on Tom Atkins. He's like a sweet grandpa. Now, you were just mentioning another film that's in post-production right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's chat a little bit about that. What's the situation? Can you tell us a little bit about the film, how it started, and where it's at right now?
Yeah, the project is called If It Bleeds. It's written, directed by Matthew Hirsch, who's a filmmaker I met on the festival circuit. So I actually met him in Orlando at Spooky Empire when he had a short film out there and I had the short version of Sweetest Day playing. So that's where we made the connection 3 years ago, maybe. Mm-hmm. So anyway, he brought me on to produce this film. We just wrapped like 2 weeks ago, finally. But it is about a overambitious news reporter investigating a series of grisly murders. So it's an anthology film, and the news reporter's storyline, Catherine Corcoran from the Terrifier stars as the news reporter. She's sort of the through line that connects the different short stories together.
Oh, very cool. Was he from Florida, or you guys just met in Florida?
He is from Florida, and when we met there, it turns out we live about 1.5 miles away from each other in Los Angeles.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
Yep.
Now,
went all the way to Orlando to meet a neighbor, practically.
Isn't that crazy? It's just that to me, that just meant that you guys were meant to meet. So, was that movie filmed in Florida?
No, that was filmed here in Los Angeles.
Okay. All right. So you're in Los Angeles right now.
Yes, sir.
Very cool. All right. Okay. So that's in post. Obviously, Sweetest Day, you said, is complete now. It's just going through the last bit of post as well. And then you're probably going to be hitting the film festival circuit, or are you already going to start lining up distribution? What's your plan for it?
We're starting to talk to distribution companies. People are reaching out to us, and there's, companies we would certainly love to work with. We're going to see what the best life is for the movie, whether that's the festival circuit or going right to distribution. We just want to make sure that it has a theatrical life of some sort before going into the streaming pond. So that's what we're aiming for.
A lot of people are doing that now. I mean, we got to know the Levies from Terrifier and stuff with our last film festival, and their movies, Screamboat and stuff like that, we're getting theatrical releases, and they're doing the whole marketing thing, drawing people to the theater to try and get the theatrical screen. So it seems like a lot of people are really doing that now before they hit the streaming service. That seems to be the theme now.
Yeah. The good news is that the major studios aren't completely filling the multiplexes at the moment, so there's a little bit more screen space than there is even a few years ago. So I think that's really beneficial for a lot of these independent movies and movies like ours. So we're able to play along with the majors, like Clown in a Cornfield. Is able to open nationwide. I mean, we're also at a time it's pretty unprecedented, like Terrifier 3, unrated, with no marketing, open from coast to coast. I think it's great.
Yeah, they made 125 million in the theaters too. Not bad
That's
for a $2 million
fantastic.
budget. Yeah,
Hmm.
but they did it right. They definitely hit a niche. And Art the Clown or whatever has become this anti-hero of sorts or something like that. So they really hit the mark with that one. Really proud of them, and they do great work. All right, so now that this is pretty much like you said done. What we got here? We got another question here. Can't wait to see The Sweetest Day on the big screen.
Thank you, Frank.
Who's Frank?
Frank is our extremely talented composer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, because I love a good score. Absolutely.
Absolutely tremendous. I can't say enough good things about it. I know I'm biased, but I'm super excited for people to see and hear this movie.
Excellent. All right. So now that both of those are in post and you're getting ready to go ahead and give them their post-production life, what do you have on tap coming up? Do you have any projects in the works? You're going to be doing some conventions. What do you got lined up for yourself in the very near future?
I have another feature I'm currently developing. So right now in the process of getting the script broken down, see how much it's going to cost, and assembling, the team. So we're going to go again and make another film. I'm very excited. And other than that, I can't say too much about it, but it is in the works.
Okay. Very cool. We have somebody else chiming in here. Kim Park. Super excited to see your movie. All right, Kim.
Thank you,
As
Kim.
am I, Kim. And just in case you do get the green light and you decide you want to do anything film festival wise, just put that little bug in your ear. The Indie Horror Junkie Film Fest at MegaCon is in March, and we get an incredible crowd. That place is unbelievable. I mentioned it at the beginning. There's like 250,000 people that go to that weekend, and it's unbelievable. The crowds that go there, the stars that go there, and it's just so much fun with that event. So if you decide you want to do something, we'd love to have you out there.
That sounds great. Thank you very much. I would love that.
Yeah, another trip to bring you down to Florida. Never know who else you might meet from LA. All right, so where can people find you? Where can they look you up? Do you have anything specific where you're on Twitter or Instagram or anything like that you can pass along for everybody?
I have a Twitter, but I don't think I've ever tweeted. I am on Instagram, Ledugger, Ledougger. Also, please follow Sweetest Day the movie. You can find that on Instagram as well as Facebook. And I think that's about it.
Do you have a trailer coming out anytime soon?
We do have a trailer that's in the works. I was hoping to have it for you today, but just couldn't get it through the QC process and everything else in time. But yeah, keep an eye out for the trailer, hopefully within the coming weeks.
Okay, because when you get the trailer, we will definitely put it out there through our channels, put it on our Facebook page and everything else. Also to let everybody know that in the upcoming Friday the 13th edition, which is issue number 17, we will have a nice little write-up on Sweetest Day in there as well. So make sure that when that issue comes out, you grab a copy, have a read, and I think everybody's going to enjoy this because it seems like you're hitting all the marks that are near and dear to my heart. 80s, samurai, martial arts. I don't really think I need anything else. So we're good.
Fantastic.
All right, brother. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate you coming on board and chatting with us and telling everybody where they can find you and a little bit about your films. Are there any kind of shout outs or anything like that you'd like to give anybody?
I would just like to shout out our extremely talented cast and crew on Sweetest Day. I appreciate you all. I cannot wait to show you the finished film.
Outstanding. Once again, we thank you very much. If you just hang out for a minute or two, I'm going to get and put you off screen, say goodbye to everybody, and then I'll come back and we'll chat for a few more minutes, okay?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, everybody. There we go. This sounds like a great movie. Really excited about it. Everything that I've heard about it, everything that I hear it's about, the fact that he is dug into 80s horror and stuff like that. I mean, Be Still My Heart. I can't wait for this movie. We can't wait to write about it. So what I know you will know. Trust me, okay? So once again, like I said, Amy's not with us this week. I don't believe she's going to be with us next week either. So we're going to have a fill-in host to come in here and man the table with me. So it is going to be Lance LeBrun. He's going to be with me on air doing all the talking and heavy lifting and everything else for the show. Lance is our film reviewer, so if you get a chance, you can go to IndieHorrorJunkie.com webpage, look up the reviews link at the top, and you can see all the reviews. As a matter of fact, I think he just sent me 2 more that I've got to get up there probably today or tomorrow, but he does an amazing job. He was helping us at the film festival, so can't wait to get him on the show here, and I'll let you guys have at him. So once again, thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. Glad we got to chat with Doug. Can't wait for you to read more about him in the next issue. So until then, we'll see you next Wednesday.